Warning, this video is absolutely not intended for children. It features discussions of drugs, addiction, and also discussions of fetishes. So if you are underage, this is definitely not the video for you. I highly recommend clicking away now. So, Netflix decided to adapt the manga Chainsmoker Cat. And while there's only one episode that's out now, it's already stirring up a lot of controversy. There's only one episode that's out, and people in Japan are allegedly already dropping it because of how filthy the main character is. She's called Yani. She's a chain-smoking cat girl who lives in filth, who spends every last cent she makes at her job on cigarettes. I mean, the title is Chainsmoker Cat. And that's basically the entire plot. And throughout the first episode, Yani is shown to be deeply addicted to cigarettes. She smokes like 5 at a time, and she smokes multiple packs a day. And because she spends all her time smoking and spends all her money on cigarettes, she lives in filth. And her addiction leads her to do some pretty disgusting things, which we will get to in a second. But because Yani is shown as so filthy and dirty in the first episode, Japanese audiences are dropping the anime, saying they will not be finishing it, which some Western people on Instagram have pointed out is very hypocritical, since some Japanese audiences seem to be totally fine with the sexualization of child characters, but they seem to be disgusted by a cat girl who is living in a dirty apartment, who poops a lot, which, trust me, we will get to the poop. But it's not just Japanese audiences who are having an issue with this anime. Even though there's only just one episode out, Western audiences seem to have two big criticisms. One, that this anime is romanticising and promoting smoking, and two, the anime being fetish material. And I personally have an issue with one of these complaints. The other one I can totally understand because there's quite a few scenes involving poop. But do I think that this anime is promoting cigarette use and promoting smoking? Absolutely not. There's only one episode out, but this series is already portraying smoking as detrimental to the main character Yani. She is shown to be living in absolute filth. She's also shown to be running away from work because she's not allowed to smoke on the job. She's that addicted to cigarettes that she can't even focus on her job. She was also being shown to do odd jobs for money, but she does a terrible job. She gets this woman's priceless vase dirty, covered in cigarette smoke, when she's specifically told not to smoke around it. Yani is shown as someone whose cigarette addiction is taking over their life. She doesn't listen to basic instructions because she just can't go 10 seconds without a smoke. She's shown as irresponsible and someone who just doesn't care as long as she gets a smoke in. She also vows to quit multiple times, but then only a couple seconds later, she lights another one up. This is someone who is absolutely deep in addiction. And not once does this show paint her addiction as a good thing. She's shown to live in filth, and she's shown to be irresponsible because of her complete reliance on cigarettes. And even if the show paints these moments in a comedic manner, they are still very serious, nor are they treated as a good thing. It's a comedy show, it's gonna make jokes. But being upset that the show doesn't handle it in the utmost seriousness is a valid complaint. Although it is a comedy show, you can be upset that it doesn't take addiction very seriously. In my opinion, though, it does. Just because the show is funny doesn't take away from the severity of Yani's actions. And for example, at the end of episode 1, where Yani's crying on the phone with her sister after having a dream that she got lung cancer. And in that dream, she was slapped by the doctor for smoking in his office, which I did find rather amusing. I also found it rather morbidly funny that she gets told that she's going to die within 100 days and then still lights up another cigarette. It's funny, but at the same time it shows the severity of Yani's addiction. That she knows she's going to die, but she still smokes anyway. But after that dream, she gets on the phone with her sister, crying, vowing never to smoke again. But then 10 seconds later, like she did in the dream, she lights up another cigarette. And like I said before, this is morbidly funny, but at the same time it's showing how deep her addiction is and how it's going to be a lot of work to try and pull her out of it. And I can understand being upset at the humour of this series and wanting a more serious look at addiction, but this is, in fact, a comedy show about cat girls addicted to drugs I don't think it was ever going to be that serious. In the manga, apparently there's a cat girl who's addicted to heroin. But in my opinion, I still think it is quite serious whilst being funny at the same time. And that I feel that these allegations that the show is promoting smoking and that it's government propaganda is really stupid. Since Yani's addiction is shown to be ruining her life, I do not think that this show is promoting smoking at all. In fact, I think it's doing the opposite, but people are missing the point so hard. And I feel like these people either just watched it and completely misinterpreted it, or they just haven't watched it in full at all, and that they just watched it through YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, and then just got angry at what they were seeing. So, no, I do not think this show is promoting addiction as a good thing, and I don't think it's encouraging people to smoke at all, just because the main character's a cute cat girl. Great, now I have to talk about the poo. Another big complaint from audiences is that this show is very explicit scat fetish. If you don't know what scat is, I just said it, it's poo. In this first episode alone, there were multiple references to poo. And I just want to talk about the first 3 minutes of this first episode because they were unhinged as someone who went into this pretty much blind. Basically, Yani's out on the balcony smoking and she dumps her dirty cigarette water off the balcony and onto her landlord's head. Yani doesn't give a shit and starts getting changed, and her landlord runs up the stairs, angry at her because she just dumped dirty cigarette water on his head. He barges into her room, demanding explanations, and Yani is in the middle of getting changed. And as you can see here, I've censored it, but you can imagine what's happened to him. And after he slinks away to, you know, shall I say, relieve this issue, Yani goes searching around for spare cigarettes to smoke. She finds one in a trash bag that is absolutely filthy and is coated in some black sludge. She decides to smoke it anyway, but then she gets a tummy ache and has to run to the toilet. And while we see her landlord, shall I say stress relieving, we get hit with Yani on the toilet having explosive diarrhea. And I get that this is supposed to be funny because he is stress relieving because of Yani, while she's over there being as disgusting as she could be. And I get that this was supposed to portray her as gross and disgusting. I can see why people are labelling this as scat fetish because of the multiple references and instances of poo being shown in the series. It's only episode 1, mind you, and poo has either been referenced or shown about 3 times so far. We've had Yani on the toilet having explosive diarrhea. We've had Yani send her sister a poo emoji made out of cigarettes. And the most infamous example being when Yani dropped her cigarettes in a pile of dog poo and she proceeds to pick them out and chop the ends off because she spent a lot of money on these cigarettes and didn't want to waste them. And I do understand that these instances are supposed to show how gross and disgusting Yani is and how her addiction has totally taken over her life, so much so that she will take her cigarettes that she dropped in literal poo and chop the ends off and still smoke them. It's supposed to show the level of addicted she is to cigarettes and that she's so addicted that she doesn't even care about hygiene anymore. But I do have to say, there is a significant amount of poo, and it's only episode 1. So I can absolutely see why people are dropping this series because they think it's just thinly veiled scat fetish. And I get that it was supposed to be funny, but seeing a character violently shit themselves with fart noises over it can be a bit disturbing to the average person. And with the multiple instances of poo being mentioned, I can absolutely see why people think that this is, in fact, the author's barely disguised fetish. But will I probably tune in and watch episode 2? Yes, because as disgusting as this series is, intentionally so, I kind of want to watch the rest. And I want to see what happens to Yani. I want to see how she's going to go about potentially quitting, or if every time she's going to say she quits, she just keeps going back to it. I want to know. Do I think this anime is a bit sexualized and also includes a bit too much poo? Maybe. But do I really care? No. All the characters who are sexualized in this anime are shown to be over the age of 18. The landlord is clearly a grown man, and Yani has her own apartment and she works a factory job. Yani's sister seems to still be in school, but she's also not sexualized. And honestly, I have no problem with, quote, Gooner anime and, quote, Gooner scenes, Gooner characters, as long as they're over the age of 18. Because let's be real, this is anime. Most anime has fan service, that's just how it is. And I'm just glad that the characters they've chosen to sexualize clearly are not minors. And also the poo fetish allegations, I'm just gonna say it now. Is it a bit weird that there's lots of poo in this anime? A little bit, yeah, it's very gross. And even if there is some underlying scat fetish here, I think the sheer amount of poo in this series is supposed to deliberately gross out the audience because of how gross Yani's situation is. And like I've said before, is it a bit weird that this anime features lots of poo? Yeah, it's a bit weird. And if it is one of the author's fetishes and they're including that in the show, yeah, that's a bit odd. And from an audience perspective, I can absolutely understand not wanting to watch this creator's undisclosed poo fetish. But personally, in my eyes, I've seen quite a few anime, and poo is one of the least offensive things I've seen included due to the author's fetish. And I just find it a bit funny that some audiences are okay with underage characters being sexualized, but then poo is where they draw the line. Like, to me, it's so funny that some of these people are totally fine with lolicon, but then they see a dirty, of-age cat girl who lives in filth, who occasionally shits herself and digs cigarettes out of dog poo, and then throw a complete hissy fit about it, saying how disgusting it is, and that this is fetish material, and how they don't want to watch it anymore. But as I've said, personally, I don't really mind any of this, and I do kind of want to see where the story goes, so I will probably be tuning in as more episodes drop. But if you think that this is fetish material and that you don't want to watch it, I can completely understand where you're coming from, and I can absolutely understand why people think that this is fetish material, and I do to some extent agree that there is far too much poo in this first episode. But do I personally care about all the grossness and all the poo and all the nastiness? No. So I will still be watching. But if you don't want to, I can absolutely understand why. I just think some of the criticisms that have been levied against this anime are far too harsh and are completely misunderstanding what it's trying to do. But some of it I can completely understand. But if you made it this far, what did you think about Chainsmoker Cat? Did you think this was actually scat material, or did you think it was just trying to be funny and gross? Let me know down in the comments, and if you'd like to see more of this sort of silly rant type video, there will be many more to come in the future, so if you want to stick around, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. As of now, I am very close to getting 500 subscribers, which I am so grateful for. I never thought I'd ever get this far, even if it is mostly thanks to a video that I now very much regret making, and wish I could just get the same attention on my other videos, but unfortunately that's just not really working out, and the rest of mine, when I don't cover this person, get very low views. So if you did like this video, please check out my other stuff that isn't just my rants about Melanie Martinez. I promise you guys, I do make other content. You can also watch that too. No one's forcing you to just watch the Melanie Martinez videos. But yeah, that's about it from me. If you'd like to support the channel, I have an Instagram, my commissions are open. I will draw for literal pennies, I'm not joking. So drop me a follow on there and send me a message, and I also have a Redbubble shop if you're interested in some quirky little cool designs. That's about it, goodbye!